Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. The absolute chaos of Rostermania continues. MIBR continuing to cook up an absolute god squad. Aspas, Zekken plus question mark. Those are some of the key questions of the day. But with Zekken going across the other side of the office to MIBR, what does that mean for Sentinels? Do they still have a way to form a competitive team next season? Which players might they target to try and replace some of the key losses they seem to currently be suffering, especially if Keiko, one of the potential import options from Liquids, is going to NRG instead? Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I mean, it's difficult to put into words just the amount of stuff that's going on right now. So we're just going to quickly go through Ascension because this is big in the Americas. TSM versus Winthrop happened yesterday. TSM got the 2-0 dub. So they advance on to the next step of the playoffs where they will play a very familiar face. So it was 13-7 and 13-11. So TSM got the job done. Winthrop did a pretty good job. But Team Solid went down to Envy. So Envy, 2-1 Team Solid. Of course, that's DGZan, that's Havoc and Co. And this time Envy did come out on top. It wasn't super clean. They lost the first map 13-6, but then they won the Ascent 13-7, and then they dominated the Binds 13-3. So Envy move on, and Kane Zero had a much better map here on the final map on the series. So the Americas Ascension now looks like this. The upper final is TSM Envy to be played actually, well, tonight, right? But it's basically midnight my time tonight. So big games upcoming. Of course, one of these two teams is going to be the favourite to qualify, which they pretty much were all along. But just to clarify, that's a massive game. The grand finals, of course, will conclude just in a couple of days' time. Also drama, even outside of Rostermania stuff, in the South American region, really. So we've got Saadhak, who's returning to crew. He got into a bit of drama here. Kesnit shot his body. Saadhak won the game and says, Kesnit shot me on the ground. How cute. I'd love to face him in the VCT next year. Oh, wait, no, I wouldn't, because he's not there, right? That would be the implication. Now, then Kesnit wasn't very happy about this, and, well, let's say he had a few words to say for Saadhak on the other side. He says that, well, he called him something, and then he said that he went to Europe and just embarrassed himself over on Carmine Corps. And then Saadhak then apologised and said, oh, sorry about that, I was just heated, it was unnecessary, it doesn't reflect my track record as a person, I don't want to start things off on the wrong foot with crew. So, you know, what an absolute mess, right? It's pretty hilarious, really, to see that with all the other stuff that's currently happening, there's always room for a little bit of drama to throw into the mix as well. But we've got to talk Rostermania. There was a rumour that Furia are just cooking up. They are cooking up the weirdest team, Furia, I'm not going to lie. They are just bringing in anyone, really, and hoping it works. Fair enough. Now, there was some talk about Demon 1, although Purist says this is false. Rocket Bullet said this isn't happening either, so take that as you will. But, look, Demon 1's going to go somewhere. It's probably not going to be MIBR, so could it be SEN? I don't know. Right now, SEN probably do need some, you know, some talent, right? We'll get to that in a second. Now, Les, crew, this is very interesting. Saadhak and Les, it looks like they're back together again, this time on crew. This isn't Loud 2022 all over again. This is Les from Vitality, allowed to explore options, and crew wanting to get him, and he wants to go back with Saadhak, and that's what's going to happen. So that, it does seem, is going to be a duo to round out at least the start of that crew team. We also have Gen.G. They confirm that Solo is back. So, you know, we know what Gen.G. are like, right? They release everyone, then they start to announce people to come back. So Solo's coming back. Texture, rumour has it, is going to come back as well. The rest of the team at this point, who really knows? There's also rumours that Starkzo, of course, who was playing for Job Life until their Ascension run ended very recently, he's going to go to Gentlemate. Of course, they're looking to build a new roster for the upcoming season. This seems like a pretty reasonable decision to me. We'll see what happens with Gentlemate, obviously, but lots of drama with them because they got relegated, then they got Koi's spot, so, well, they need to deliver. Otherwise, the Spanish fans of Koi are going to roast them anyway, so I guess that doesn't really matter. But, you know, there is some pressure on them to at least deliver because when the partnership agreements are then renewed in 2027, they need to prove that they've earned their spot, as it were. But let's talk about the Americas because, I mean, wow, there's been a lot happening over the last 24 hours. This is one of the key developments that, according to Rocket Bullets, sources say, and look, it's not... Look, when Alejandro, we'll see in a second, says something, you can take that with a very, very high degree of likelihood. When Rocket Bullets tweets something, you know, take it with a bit of a pinch of salt, but he is definitely on the right lines at least a decent part of the time. So what 100T cooking up? Because rumour had it the other day that Sean Gaze is coming in as their team manager, head of Valorant or whatever. They probably have a head coach coming in as well. Now, what are they going to do? Who are they going to keep? Rumour has it Asuna is set to stay. So, look, Asuna's been around 100T for a long time now, and I think you could definitely argue that parting ways, going a different direction, could make sense. But I will say, if 100 Thieves are looking to build a gold squad of their own, which that was rumoured, right? I mean, let's not forget, it wasn't long ago we were talking about 100T wanting Zekken with Cryo, right? And running that back. But Zekken got the MIBR offer and felt like it was impossible to refuse. At least that's according to rumours. And that's one of the other dramas about this whole Sentinels MIBR thing, is that, you know, they basically share an office space, right? So it's not like Zekken is choosing MIBR because it's a better commute or he wants to live there or whatever, right? Like, there's nothing to do with that. It's because he believes, Zekken, it seems, that Aspas gives him his best opportunity to win. And Sentinels can't. And based on recent evidence, you wouldn't necessarily deny that assessment, right? And it does seem like MIBR have some money to spend as well. So it means that 100 Thieves are in a spot where they can't just go and sign a load of top quality players. So if you're going to let Asuna go, you might pay the price for it. I think this is a big debate because Asuna has been part of many failed rosters over the last few years. But I could also see the argument that, well, was any of that really his fault? You know, I could see the idea for keeping him, right? But look, he's still trialing with the team. He's been there for many a year right now, and they've not had much success in that time period, at least in recent years. But he's still under contract. But the key thing, I think, for many 100 Thieves fans will be that Cryo is still trialing. Now, Rocket says that Zekken also trialed for 100 Thieves as controller, but eventually went to MIBR. So that is actually very interesting. So yeah, it looks like they are at least trialing Asuna and Cryo to stay. Whether both of them will stay, good question, but it seems that they want them to stay, and having not got Zekken, maybe they kind of need them to stay, could be one argument. The other key piece of this whole puzzle is NRG, because we know that Som is stepping away. That was confirmed yesterday. They needed somebody to step into his spot instead, and according to rumours, it's going to be Keiko who's going to come into the team. Now, this is a really big deal, Ray, actually for many reasons, because there were rumours for some time that Keiko was maybe gettable from Team Liquid. Again, it's pretty tough. Nats finally puts together a team on Liquid that actually looks pretty good, and then his best players get poached at the end of the season, right? So we'll see where that leads. But there were rumours that Keiko was an option for sure for some of these Americas teams to get. I'm sure that if that was known, that Sentinels should have at least have considered it. But of course, if you're Keiko looking at the options and NRG want you to come into their World Championship winning team to replace Som, then kind of a no-brainer, right? Like, controller player leaves Team Liquid, comes into NRG, replaces Som. There was talk that NRG wanted Zekken, but that's not going to happen. Now he's going to MIBR, so Keiko makes a lot of sense. So this, I think, is a really big deal, actually, for a couple of reasons here. NRG have moved quickly, they've got a top quality player locked down, but also Team Liquid, it is a pretty big loss, right? And as we've said over the last few days, if you're Chronicle, you're weighing your options, you've got offers from other teams. You, to our understanding, have probably not re-signed a deal yet with Fnatic. So what do you do if you're Chronicle? Because, I mean, it wasn't even a rumour, it was just a theory, right? But the idea of Chronicle and Nats teaming up again together could be interesting. But now if there's no Keiko, it's like, well, does Chronicle really want to do that? I'm not so sure if that team doesn't look like it's moving in the right direction. So then it raises questions on what Chronicle could potentially do, especially if there could be other offers on the table, and that has been one of the continued rumours. So yesterday, if you guys didn't see it, Aspas has extended with MIBR, and according to Alejandro, effectively, Aspas name-dropped Zekken and was like, I want to play with Zekken. And they went and spoke to Zekken, and Zekken was like, I want to play with Aspas. Let's make it happen, right? So, according to rumours, this is near enough a done deal. Kind of came out of nowhere yesterday morning. Zekken and Aspas looking for 3. Now, initially there was talk that that could be Verno, but that now looks much less likely to be the case. I also think it's pretty interesting what they could do with Cortasia, right? Like, could they bring him back? Because both of those players I've just mentioned are actually still linked with Sentinels, or starting to get linked with Sentinels. The other reason why this looks pretty likely is that Sassy puts this tweet out there kind of showing, I mean, look, presumably one of these little turtles is Zekken and the other is Aspas, right? Because Sassy worked with both of those guys when they were far earlier in their careers. And I'm sure that Sassy will feel some type of way. Now, of course, he's part of MIBR as well as a creator, although maybe there's an argument that he should come back as a player alongside these guys. But Zekken and Aspas, Sassy worked with both of them, the idea of them both being together, that is certainly the implication of this tweet. Now, this is just, I think, a theory, right? But people have been trying to put together, what's the rest of the roster going to be, right? You've got Aspas, you've got Zekken, what are you going to do with the rest of the team? Now, Akamaru actually said, MIBR are winning everything, I'm so serious, the team is unfair. And what did he say? I think he got asked the question, like, yeah, which are the players? And he says, I know the players they want, and yes, they are insane. So whether they can get this done is a good question. But the thing is, if you are any player in World Valorant, and MIBR hit you up and they say, hey, we've got Aspas and Zekken, do you want to play for us? It's kind of difficult to say no, right? It's a pretty good bargaining chip, right? So that's what's interesting. They may not get exactly what they want, but Aspas wanted Zekken, they've gone and got Zekken. Now, that is a pretty strong duo. Let's say, hypothetically, they wanted Chronicle. Now, I don't know what they're going to do with the rest of this team, but it doesn't seem like Cortasia or Verno are coming back. So they must have some other ideas in what they want to do here. And Kojo tweeted this out yesterday. Again, it could be bait. Who really knows what's happening? But Rocket Bullet says, oh, did Chronicle see that roster and jump over there? Who knows, right? But it's not entirely impossible, is it? I don't know. It would be really strange, but it's probably not entirely impossible. Therefore, we've got to talk about what does it mean for SEN, and what are they going to do? Because, as we've said, with Sentinels losing Zekken and with Keiko going to NRG, like, Sentinels really needs some sort of star player, some sort of talent, or something like that to come into the roster, you would think, because if they don't rebuild strongly, even someone like Cryo, right? Do they need to try and go and get him? But then again, there's no Zekken anymore, so maybe that doesn't look quite as good. Gen.G took the promo carousel off his stream as well, like Zekken did. Again, doesn't necessarily mean that much, although Rocket Bullets did say that Gen.G is unlikely to stay, although he has still been playing some trials. But apparently Caillou, who's been the IGL for the Qubit Academy, he might instead be the new in-game leader for Sentinels. They've had Xander. I mean, look, these are the scrimmers. Kaplan, right? Narrate, Zelsis, Redux, Tex, Knight, Nismo, Satellite. And then more recently, Caillou, Xander, and Cortasia. And we can probably add another one to that list as of yesterday, because this was spotted. They were playing the new EG, Com, Potter, etc., Okonos, a couple of other players we think are going to go to EG. But they were spotted with Kaplan, Zekken, or Zelsis, not Zekken, and Gen.G. So Gen.G was still there. They also, though, had Verno. So it does look like MIBR are not going to keep Verno, and instead he is an option that possibly Sentinels could be going and getting and could be considering. There was also this spotted with Narrate, who was actually queuing with Cortasia. So both of those players, I think, are still in the conversation there, right? And look, maybe if you're Sentinels and Aspas has stolen your Zekken, you need to try and go and get Verno and Cortasia back. But look, if Aspas wanted to keep both of those players, he probably would, to be honest. But it looks like he wants to go a different direction, and maybe they want to even upgrade their firepower even further. So very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Redux and even tweeted out this picture of Verno. So frankly, it's all going on, but very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. What will Sentinels do? What should they do? I think those are key questions right now, and there are still plenty of pieces that still need to fall into place. So very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.